Hello and welcome. Today we are joining together to participate in a day of remembrance for Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, who is the co-founder of the Theosophical Society. White Lotus Day is celebrated to commemorate the anniversary of her passing, which was May 8th, 1891. And it was Madame Blavatsky's request that her friends gathered together at headquarters on the anniversary of her death and read from the Light of Asia or the Bhagavad Gita. And I believe it was in her will, that request. And to this day, White Lotus Day is still held at Adyar, the Adyar headquarters. And these days, many theosophical groups are celebrating the work of Madame Blavatsky, reading from the text she recommended, and adding meditation and ceremony in some cases. And for years, our Minneapolis Lodge commemorated White Lotus Day in person. And because it's been 2 years since the last ceremony due to COVID, we mark this day as a special occasion for our lodge as we reestablish the White Lotus Day event. So today we'll proceed. I have a reading to share from Annie Besant, and then Von Brashler will share some thoughts and comments with us, as well as passages from one of the texts that Madame Blavatsky requested. And also, we will talk about something our Minneapolis Lodge would like to do in honor of Madame Blavatsky today in terms of a donation. And it will be to the Ukraine refugees, but we will hear about that later. And then, and I just said that order wrong, we'll do the donation information first, and then Von will share thoughts and stories, and then the readings. And then we will have a brief meditation and a candle lighting ceremony that Berta will lead us in. So I read that it was Henry Olcott that established White Lotus Day a year after Madame passed. And I don't know if this is true, but apparently white lotuses were in great profusion that year, blooming, so that he suggested the day be called White Lotus Day. Is that something any of you are familiar with? Okay. So anyway, it became White Lotus Day, and certainly there's a lot of significance and symbolism in the White Lotus. So I will share with you a reading. Actually, it's words by Annie Besant that were printed in the Theosophical publication called The American Theosophist in May of 1934. And I think this really helps put us into the energy and the presence of the White Lotus Day meaning. So here's her words. We remember with special reverence, love, and gratitude on the 8th of May, the great messenger of the White Lodge, who brought to us the light when we were walking in darkness. None other can do for us what she did, for she was the torchbearer when the gateway to the path was hidden. Thanks to her, some of us have passed through that gateway and are treading that path. But we owe to her the guidance which led us through the blinding fog. For that she has and must ever have our undying reverence and gratitude. If the Theosophical Society now rings its message around the world, it is because of her heroism when she stood alone. She passed away while still only a few had recognized her. But the great society of today would not exist had she not founded and guarded it. Without the sowing of seed, there would be no harvest. Again, that's by Annie Besant, and at the bottom of the page in that publication, it says Annie Besant, one of her pupils whose life was given to the carrying on of her work.
And then I have the page from the Theosophical Society. And so I'm just going to read a little bit of this. This came out from the president of the National Theosophical Society, who was in touch with the Ukrainian Theosophical Society. And just some background, the museum for Madame Blavatsky is in, it's a very long name, Ukrainian name, and I don't even know how to say the shortened name, Dnipro, and it is further west, so the museum itself has become a refugee site with, I think, a lot of people coming through, not necessarily staying, but moving through as they're trying to get to safety, probably elsewhere, not staying even in the Ukraine. Some people are hoping to stay and then go back, mostly coming from the really hard shelled area east. So it says here, at the time of this writing, it has been a little over a month since Russia invaded the Ukraine. Since then, more than 14 million people have been displaced, estimating 6 million refugees and another 8 million within the country still displaced. They are either moving to cities within the Ukraine that are not hotspots or to other countries. And half of the people are children. So they've been leaving their homes. And one of the things that we decided that we would like to do is that our lodge will contribute. And I'm just going to go to the next page because this explains that the Theosophical Society General Secretary of the Ukrainian section sent a letter out to all the Theosophical Society groups providing the names of the organizations that the Ukraine brothers and sisters are working with that they feel are trustworthy. So then the key point is that the National Theosophical Society is collecting funds, so we're going to forward our donation to that group so that they can send it. And so far they've collected 15,000, but I would think by now it's probably more than that. And it just seems like because this was something that Madame Blavatsky asked for, that there'd be a donation to a good cause. It seems like this is the good cause for this time, and especially because she was born there. And I'm always watching to see if her museum area is still safe, and it's just kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it seems like it has not been, that town itself has been far enough away that it's still a refuge. But whatever, they're also donating to other places like in Romania and Poland, where there's just a large group of overwhelming need of especially women and children. So we'll be doing that, and I think that's all I need to say about that. So I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to hand it off to Vaughn.
The White Lotus Day, since Madame Blavatsky's passing, and request to one of her partners, Henry Steele Olcott, to simply mark her passing when she died in India with a gathering of friends, sisters and brothers of the society, and do a reading from either the Bhagavad Gita or the Light of Asia, her favorite books, and maybe to have some white candles, wear white, white lotus flower, which was so prevalent on the grounds. Very simple ceremony. And they did that year when she passed. That was her memorial service at Adyar. Then since that, yes, the colonel did make it an annual event, which now is held worldwide by theosophical groups everywhere, regardless of where you are. People are celebrating May 8th. We don't all celebrate at exactly the same time, but everyone celebrates on May 8th, which was the date of the passing. We've had some interesting meetings in the Minneapolis Lodge for White Lotus Day. I remember when we gathered upstairs in what was once the meditation room at Lake Harriet Spiritual Center, and it was once called the Mary Room. We made it the library, and we pushed all the books back one year, and we had a group meeting where we all took turns reading. We had a ceremony. We had flowers. We had I believe we had white daisies that year as a stand-in for the white lotus, which does not grow here in profusion as in Adyar. And we had white candles, and we had a reading, and people were asked to come forward and say a few words or drop a flower petal in a basin of water. And we were surprised. We had quite a large crowd. I remember we wondered how they'd all fit, because the books took up most of the Mary Room. And people cried during that meeting. It was incredible. I mean, I think her life was difficult and her passing was at a young age, but I think that it was a blessing to have her, and it was a wonderful life to be celebrated. But still, people cried at that meeting. And I remember once we had a meeting in my house in St. Paul at the Van Buren house. And we had it next to the fireplace in the large living room. And what I remember about that, and I think, Paul, you were at that meeting, you probably remember, we were talking about how traditionally we would have the white candles, we'd have the reading from either Bhagavad Gita or Light of Asia. We would have maybe a remembrance of Madam, and we'd have the White Lotus. And we commented that it was very difficult in St. Paul, Minnesota, to have a White Lotus. So we had what we had. I think we had white roses that year. And we were playing in the background in the living room a television that was tuned to a musical channel that had very uplifting spiritual music, very nice music in the background. And someone remarked, just when we came to the remark about, so sad we don't have a White Lotus to display, someone said, oh my gosh, look at the TV. We all turned around at once. And on the TV was a frozen image of a White Lotus, which appeared to accompany some music. And it just stood there. It just was fixed on the television for the entire length of this music. As though Madam said, well, here's the White Lotus. Maybe you could use this one. Madam always said, that while she could manifest things, she said, and originally she wanted to have a group that would study psychism and everything, until she met the colonel and the Mahatma said, you need to have some structure, you need to have some purpose in your life, And then toward the end of her life, she said, well, these sort of miracles, which we call psychism, all these psychic amazing things like manifesting flowers or teacups or, things that, I think she manifested a couple of things in her life. Once a $5 note when they didn't have postage, and the colonel was out of town. But she said these gifts would just come to you, if you study and you read and you grow spiritually, if you become, as she said, a serious occultist, you will study and you will evolve spiritually, and they'll just come to you, you don't have to work for it. And apparently that's true. So in keeping with her wishes, I would like to read from the Bhagavad Gita. Wonderful book. on the surface, it's a war. Takes place on a battlefield, a civil war. And the hero represents will, and his guide on his chariot during the war is Lord Krishna, who is stand-in for he is the manifestation of God, and he whispers in his ear all throughout this thing, all throughout the encounter, of the importance of being a person, being involved, and growing. Well, so I think this is appropriate. He who thinks this self a killer, and he who thinks it killed, both fails to understand. It does not kill, nor is it killed. It is not born. It does not die. Having been, it will never not be. Unborn, enduring, constant, and primordial. It is not killed when the body is killed.
Well, I'm going to join in a silent meditation about the significance of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky's life and contribution. And if it, in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, we suggest sending peace from our hearts to the people of Ukraine and their country. And so we're just going to meditate for about 2 minutes. And so now at this time, let's take if we have white candles, or certainly we can, welcome to use this one. Okay, as we light this, let's just offer our blessings, our hope, our prayers to the people, the families, the mothers, the fathers, the children, the land, the animals of Ukraine, and anyone else
So thank you so much for participating. And may this esoteric knowledge of Madame Blavatsky and the work continue to serve in the world. And may our lodge continue to be of service in our community and beyond.